From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina, covering the period through the 6th of April. And alongside me is forecaster Laura Helock, who built most of these slides here. So Laura's going to present most of this. Let's go ahead and but before we do that, let me just real quickly jump over to the current conditions. You know, that's something I always enjoy doing, right? I always like to start off with what is happening right now, and then we'll jump into the slides. But currently we have there's a visible satellite and the radar. These are the lines of, this is the line of storms to our west that we are obviously monitoring here. I'll circle this so everybody can see. That's the main line of storms, and we're going to watch that move east. And of course, there's a couple breaks in the clouds, so obviously the more the clouds break up and the more the sunshine comes out, the more fuel that will provide for the storms. The background numbers or temperatures, we're climbing through the 70s. It's going to be warm today, but also these numbers you see here, dew point, that's a measurement of moisture, and the more moisture available, the higher this number, the better the fuel for the storm. It helps the buoyancy in the storms. So clearly, if you go up into Pennsylvania, you can see the numbers there in the 50s versus the 60s, mid 60s here. And in fact, it's about the same here as it is right where the line of storms is right now. So plenty of moisture and which will translate into buoyancy and lift for the storms. The Storm Prediction Center, let me remove the clouds. The Storm Prediction Center has the orange, that's a level 3. So clearly that meshes with the temperature and the dew points that we talked about earlier. Right now there are, this is the watch, and that is that tornado or severe? Okay, yeah. So we're let me see if I can get a readout on this. So yeah, so this is a severe thunderstorm watch, and that's in effect till 7. So clearly a severe thunderstorm watch all the way up to Charlotte, and I would not be surprised, given we're level 3 out of 5 for the outlook today, that at some point we're going to have a watch here as well. I think you could probably, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of the Storm Prediction Center and our forecasters here sitting 10 feet away, but I would be willing to bet you it's rare to have an enhanced day and not end up with a watch. Let's put it that way. But clearly you could see that the storms are just coming up on the mountains of North Carolina, and we're still a good several hours away. So we're talking a later in the day type event. Okay, so that's current conditions. Let's jump to the slides, and I'll turn it over to Laura, who's going to walk you through some of these slides. Take it away.
Yeah, so starting off with an overview of the week, we have today's cold front that'll move through the region, bringing the chance of severe weather this afternoon into tonight. Mostly dry conditions are expected throughout the rest of the work week, but temperatures will continue to be above normal. This will be the most important on Friday, when temperatures are expected to be in the upper 80s to possibly low 90s. The next best chance of rain comes Sunday with another cold front.
And I think that's important because number one, Friday is going to be really hot, and over this weekend there's a bunch of outdoor events going on, a bunch of festivals. There's a big concert-like festival happening in Raleigh. So you think Saturday will be okay for outdoor goers, people with outdoor events? Saturday should be okay, you think?
Yeah, I think temperatures are still expected to be in like mid to upper 80s, so
Okay.
should still be pretty warm. So make sure lots of water, some shade is available for people.
Okay, so make sure you have those that water with you for those outdoor activities, and it looks like the better chance for rain will be Sunday. All right, back to the slides.
Yeah. So here are the precipitation forecasts for the next 5 days. So you can see most of that rain will be today. You can expect about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain throughout much of the state today.
All right, and as you can see, pretty dry through the rest of the work week at least. What about severe? What about the flood potential?
Yeah, so there is no current threat of excessive rainfall through the next 3 days.
So these storms today aren't really much of a flash flood threat?
No.
No? Okay. That's good. We could definitely use the water though. All right, and there's that severe potential.
Yeah, so as you can see, there's slight to moderate risk of severe weather this afternoon into tonight. The orange is the enhanced risk that has the numerous severe storms possible, which can be expected for much of the region.
How about the rest of the week? Pretty quiet, huh?
Yes, pretty quiet the rest of the week.
All right, awesome. All right, so what types of severe weather can folks expect today?
Yeah, so today there's a slight risk of tornadoes and an enhanced risk of damaging winds and marginal risk of large hail. So the most hazardous hazard of those should be wind, but a few tornadoes can't be ruled out and some hail still
Okay.
possible.
So yeah, so another way to look at this is between tornado, wind, hail, and flash flooding, wind damage is the most likely outcome. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, awesome. So, so these are the radar simulations. I like to show you, if you've been following our briefings here for a while now, you know that radar simulations are not like this like magic ball, right? It's just an approximation. These simulations are subject to a large, well, they're subject to error. They're not going to be perfect. In fact, they're going to be wrong a lot of times, but the idea is that they give you a rough sense of timing. And I wouldn't never use these for intensity either. So let's say you're in Forsyth County, you're looking at 5 p.m. It looks like, man, I'm going to get nailed by that storm. Well, that may not actually happen, right? There's a good chance that won't happen, right? Because it's just a simulation. That enhanced reflectivity you see might be somewhere else. But sometime around 5 p.m., that's when we expect the worst of the weather to roll through the triad. So that's kind of how you use these. You use these for approximate timing, not intensity or exact placement, okay? So the idea is we're good through about 3, maybe even 4 o'clock. But if you're in the triad down toward Wadesboro, once we get around 5 o'clock, that's when we expect the front end of the weather to be the worst. And then that will shift east, basically between the triangle and triad in that 6 o'clock hour. By 7 o'clock, we should have some rain and thunderstorms moving through the triangle region, but still hanging back towards Charlotte and in Southwest Piedmont, Anson County, Richmond County, Stanley County, Montgomery County, you're still going to be in the thick of it by 7 p.m. By 9 p.m., that main line, and it's typically the front end or the eastern portion of the line that brings the worst of the wind. That will push east of I-95 by 9 p.m. And by 11 o'clock, most of the worst weather will be well to our east. There is a little trailing line of storms moving through the triangle between 9 and 11 p.m., but that should not be severe. Might have some rain with it, but not particularly, the main damaging wind threat. By midnight or so, it'll be over for us, okay? So the takeaway here is that this is a late afternoon through the evening hours event, okay? So if you have anything going on this evening and you're somewhere in central North Carolina, know that that's the time of the day we expect the worst of the weather to come through, okay? Maybe a little earlier out towards the triad and points west, again, the 5 o'clock hour. All right, so that's the timing for storms. How does this graphic work, Laura?
Yeah, so this is the experimental graphical hazardous weather outlook. It shows the risk level for many potential risks we might have in central North Carolina. So you can see most of those risks for this coming week are today with the severe risk. So there's slight risk for tornadoes, enhanced risk for thunderstorms, marginal risk of hail, and an enhanced risk of lightning. And you can see there's also slight risk of lightning on Sunday as well with that next set of storms we might have potentially with the next cold front.
Okay. One thing I want to mention is that right now we're still in the cold season version of this. So you'll see that excessive cold is listed towards the bottom. If that was an excessive heat, let's say it said excessive heat on there, we'd probably have Friday and maybe Saturday painted yellow. So just keep that in mind. Excessive heat is going to be creeping up on us. And I would imagine within the next time we do this briefing, it'll be switched over to our warm season version of this outlook. Okay, speaking of heat, how do you explain this one?
Yeah, so this graphic shows the risk of heat-related impacts across the state. So you can see most, if not all, of the state is covered in either minor or moderate heat-related impacts. And this is for Friday, so you can see a lot of Wake County, central North Carolina down towards South Carolina has moderate risk of heat-related impacts. So again, make sure if you have any outdoor activities, most individuals sensitive to heat could have impacts there. And there is also a potential for record high temperatures on Friday, with highs expected about 20 degrees above normal.
Okay.
And you can see more of this heat risk map at that link there, and that QR code goes to that website with the WPC for heat risk.
Okay. At the risk of spending an extra minute or so, I think it's worth clicking on that link now just to show folks how it works. If you click on this link, this is a pretty easy to use page. You know, you just take this map and zoom in onto your area of concern, and then you can just left click on these days in the upper left. So here's today, Monday, right? If we click on Tuesday, there's basically zero, little to no risk from expected heat. And look in the lower left, you can see the legend and what the color codes mean. On Wednesday, you can see we're getting back into the yellow. Thursday, we're solid yellow. And then by Friday, there's that orange creeping up. Now, definitely want to take some time to click on understanding heat risk, because there's a lot of things that go into this, such as climatology, you know, how much above or below normal, well, I guess in this case above normal temperatures it is, you know, at the time of the year. So for example, you know, 90 degrees in August may not be that big of a deal, but 90 degrees in May and April is a huge deal, right? Because we're not acclimated. So, you know, a 90-degree temperature might produce an orange in, let's say, in April or May, but 90 degrees probably in August might only do yellow. You know what I mean? So it's dependent on the time of the year too. But also, if you just scroll through these days, you can just kind of mouse over real quick. There's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So clearly, of these 5-6 days, Friday looks like it'll be the worst of the heat. Okay, so that's a quick little overview of how to use this heat risk product. Again, be sure to bookmark this link here in the QR code. All right. So what about? Gosh, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster ride here. What about next week? What's all this blue about?
Yeah, so next week, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, you can see that we have a 70 to 90% chance for below normal temperatures. You can look at the normal temperatures down in the bottom there for our different climate sites. And we're also expecting near normal precipitation in the next 8 to 14 days.
So I heard some folks saying that there could be some folks, I mean, folks here in the office in the last day or so talking about there could even be some patchy frost as we get into that outlook period. So again, if we have any ag folks here or growers, commercial growers, or even hobbyists, keep in mind we'll have to be watching out for that frost potential, even though we'll be in that April 7th to 13th time frame. So so a late season frost could be on the offing here during that time period. All right, so let's wrap it up.
Yeah, so to summarize, we have today's cold front moving through, bringing the chance of severe weather this afternoon through tonight, with mostly dry conditions throughout the rest of the work week. We have the warm temperatures throughout the week, with the warmest day Friday, with those potentially low 90 degrees. And the next best chance of rain comes Sunday with another cold front.
All right. Well, let's take one last look at the current conditions before we leave you here. Of course, this isn't the last of the briefings for today. We'll probably send out some quick updates, quick hits by email, single slide briefings, radar summaries, that sort of thing as we move through this event and as conditions warrant. Otherwise, looks like we still have a couple hours to go before we get into these storms, and just make sure you have a way to receive severe weather warnings throughout the day. So with that, That is the end of our briefing for this Monday, the 31st of March.